Letter 1. By St. Gregory of Nyssa to Eusebius. When the length of the day begins to expand in winter-time, as the sun mounts to the upper part of his course, we keep the feast of the appearing of the true light divine, that through the veil of flesh has cast its bright beams upon the life of men. But now when that luminary has traversed half the heaven in his course, so that night and day are of equal length, the upward return of human nature from death to life is the theme of this great and universal festival, which all the life of those who have embraced the mystery of the resurrection unites in celebrating. What is the meaning of the subject thus suggested for my letter to you? Why, since it is the custom in these general holidays for us to take every way to show the affection harbored in our hearts, and some, as you know, give proof of their goodwill by presents of their own, we thought it only right not to leave you without the homage of our gifts, but to lay before your lofty and high-minded soul the scanty offerings of our poverty. Now our offering which is tendered for your acceptance in this letter is the letter itself, in which there is not a single word wreathed with the flowers of rhetoric or adorned with the graces of composition, to make it to be deemed a gift at all in literary circles, but the mystical gold, which is wrapped up in the faith of Christians, as in a packet, must be my present to you, after being unwrapped, as far as possible, by these lines, and showing its hidden brilliancy. Accordingly we must return to our prelude. Why is it that then only, when the night has attained its utmost length, so that no further addition is possible, that he appears in flesh to us, who holds the universe in his grasp, and controls the same universe by his own power, who cannot be contained even by all intelligible things, but includes the whole, even at the time that he enters the narrow dwelling of a fleshly tabernacle, while his mighty power thus keeps pace with his beneficent purpose, and shows itself even as a shadow wherever the will inclines, so that neither in the creation of the world was the power found weaker than the will, nor when he was eager to stoop down to the lowliness of our mortal nature did he lack power to that very end, but actually did come to be in that condition, yet without leaving the universe unpiloted. Since, then, there is some account to be given of both those seasons, how it is that it is winter time when he appears in the flesh, but it is when the days are as long as the nights that he restores to life man, who because of his sins returns to the earth from whence he came. By explaining the reason of this, as well as I can in few words, I will make my letter my present to you, as your own sagacity, as of course it has already divined the mystery hinted at by these coincidences, that the advance of night is stopped by the accessions to the light, and the period of darkness begins to be shortened, as the length of the day is increased by the successive additions? For thus much perhaps would be plain enough even to the uninitiated, that sin is near akin to darkness, and in fact evil is so termed by the Scripture. Accordingly the season in which our mystery of godliness begins is a kind of exposition of the divine dispensation on behalf of our souls. For meet and right it was that, when vice was shed abroad without bounds, upon this night of evil the Sun of righteousness should rise, and that in us who have before walked in darkness the day which we receive from him who placed that light in our hearts should increase more and more, so that the life which is in the light should be extended to the greatest length possible, being constantly augmented by additions of good, and that the life in vice should by gradual subtraction be reduced to the smallest possible compass. For the increase of things good comes to the same thing as the diminution of things evil. But the feast of the resurrection, occurring when the days are of equal length, of itself gives us this interpretation of the coincidence, namely, that we shall no longer fight with evils only upon equal terms, vice grappling with virtue in indecisive strife, but that the life of light will prevail, the gloom of idolatry melting as the day waxes stronger. For this reason also, after the moon has run her course for 14 days, Easter exhibits her exactly opposite to the rays of the sun, full with all the wealth of his brightness, and not permitting any interval of darkness to take place in its turn, for, after taking the place of the sun at its setting, she does not herself set before she mingles her own beams with the genuine rays of the sun, so that when light remains continuously throughout the whole space of the earth's course by day and night, without any break whatsoever, being caused by the interposition of darkness. This discussion, dear one, we contribute by way of a gift from our poor and needy hand, and may your whole life be a continual festival and a high day, never dimmed by a single stain of nightly gloom.